On the news, Lagos erects testing center across local government areas as state COVID-19 toll nears 400. Nigeria to repatriate citizens from China amid racist reports. And Ghana lifts lockdown on key regions over harsh effects on the poor. A warm welcome to News Now. I am Fidalia Aguncha. We begin in Lagos State, where the government has created testing centers in 20 local government areas as part of efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a list released by the government, the testing centers are located in primary health centers and other facilities in the 20 local government areas of the state. As at Sunday, April 19, 2020, a total of 7,153 samples have been tested for COVID-19, of which 627 have been confirmed positive in Nigeria. Of this number, 170 have recovered and have been discharged, while 21 others succumbed to the illness. Lagos remains the epicenter of the pandemic in Nigeria, with 376 cases confirmed since late February. So far, COVID-19 has been confirmed in 22 Nigerian states, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Ministers and other public officials who attended the burial ceremony of late Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, Abba Kyari, have been barred from entering the presidential villa for the next 14 days. Kyari, who died of COVID-19 on Friday at the First Cardiologist Consultant Hospital in Lagos, was buried at the Gugu Cemetery, Abuja, on Saturday morning in accordance with Islamic doctrine. The burial ceremony, which was streamed live on NTA, had people closely at the cemetery to pay their last respect to him. This generated mixed reactions from Nigerians who demanded that everyone who attended the burial ceremony should be quarantined for safety reasons. The development is coming less than 3 weeks after Minister of Information Lai Mohammed announced that corpses of persons who tested positive for COVID-19 cannot be claimed for burial, but would be handled by the Ministry of Health because they are very contagious. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari and members of his cabinet have been paying tribute to Abba Kyari, with many acknowledging his role in the success of the Buhari administration and presidency. In an emotional statement released over the weekend, Buhari praised Kyari for being a loyal friend and compatriot of 42 years, particularly acknowledging him as a crucial gatekeeper to the presidency. The statement, personally signed by the president, entitled "To my friend Malam Abba Kyari," said Kyari, who died at the age of 67, was a true Nigerian patriot. Ministers who spoke to TV360 Nigeria after Kyari's burial also eulogized him as a good man whose legacy lives on.
He has answered the call of his creator. We hope and pray that may Allah grant his soul eternal rest and reward him with his Al-Jannah Firdaus, and may God give the family, the president, and the people of this country the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss.
Death is an admonition. When someone passes on, it should be an admonition to all of us, because one day, one time, we are going to depart. The way we had buried him here, a day will come that another person amongst us here will be buried here. Some people will bring him here. And secondly, as I said, religiously, whoever passes on Friday, in Islam it is one of the signs of a good end. And secondly, whoever dies because of any pandemic or epidemic is another sign of a good end. So these two, at least, they are signs of a good end.
Very hardworking. He was always on his desk by 7, always the last to leave. A dedicated aide of Mr. President, and he's going to be missed very dearly.
It was quite shocking, but extremely very revealing. Certainly, every soul shall taste death. But in Abba Kyari, we missed a very articulate, dedicated, diligent gentleman I'm someone who had died in the service of this country, who had become an anchor of this government, contributed to the thinking and the thought processes of this current government. And I think that he is often misunderstood.
The Kano state government has begun deporting Almajiris to their hometowns as part of efforts to limit the spread of COVID-19 in the state. This follows the signing of the Kano State Infectious Disease Regulation Law 2020. The state governor, Abdullahi Ganduje, who announced this, says the state has set up a high-powered Almajiri committee under the leadership of Murtala Garo, Commissioner for Local Government. According to the governor, the committee has designed a program where 3 categories of Almajiris will be taken care of, adding that the first category from neighboring state would be evacuated to their respective state, while those who are indigents would be enrolled into their neighborhood conventional schools. Kano State currently has 36 confirmed COVID-19 cases, all in the space of 1 week. Well, in the bid to address the acute shortage of medical supplies in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, has produced a ventilator known as Dicovent and other personal protective equipment. Coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, announced this during the COVID-19 update press briefing in Abuja. Enenche says the newly designed low-cost mechanical ventilator is capable of delivering positive pressured ventilation using volume-controlled ventilation system. He adds that the ventilator has undergone thorough scrutiny and assessment by specialists from top-ranging hospitals and experts in the country.
First is the production of over 15 dozens of big SANs. Of course, you should be able to interpret that that is a Defense Industries Corporation sanitizers. A high-quality hand sanitizer produced under very strict environmental conditions. This was requested by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General T.Y. Buratai, Nigerian Army Medal, for supply to troops of the Nigerian Army. This product, as we speak, is at the last stage of NAFDAC registration in line with extant due diligence provisions. DICON engineers, consultants and medical teams have successfully produced a digital mechanical ventilator known as Discovent. The newly designed low-cost machine is a simple mechanical ventilator that can deliver positive pressured ventilation using a volume-controlled ventilation, VCV for short, system. The ventilator has undergone thorough scrutiny and assessment by specialists from top-ranging hospitals and experts in the country, including Sedacret Hospital, Abuja, 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital, Katsina, amongst others.
We have challenges of procuring some of the parts locally, but we will overcome those challenges because we made adequate arrangement with our clients, both in Lagos and in Kaduna, to be able to supply us what we need to use for the production. So, but the good news there is that we have the capacity, we have the manpower, we have the zeal to assist our nation, because we cannot depend on most of these things coming from outside. We won't have the abundant natural and human resources to assist the government. And these ones are of very high quality. And if you check the ones that they import from abroad, some of them goes as far as 20,000 or more. It's even in dollars. They start converting. Dollars is quite appreciated now. So actually, it's not a profit-oriented issue. Ours is just to give service to our nation and to assist the nation in this time of emergency.
The federal government says it is weighing the option of evacuating Nigerian citizens from Guangzhou, China. This move follows report of racist treatment meted out on Nigerians in the Chinese city. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyema says the recent wave of maltreatment on Nigerians and other Africans in China is reprehensible and unacceptable to the Nigerian government. He revealed that he has summoned the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria for the second time in 1 week since the reports surfaced in the media to register Nigeria's displeasure over the incident.
I spoke to some of our people there in Guangzhou, and what do we do? Where do we go from here? And a lot of them, of course, said that they just want to come home, and we're putting in place as quickly as possible the mechanisms to start bringing them home. That clearly is the immediate solution here, and call again on the Chinese government to insist and to safeguard the rights of our people. As I said, the ambassador whom I just met and discussed with, his position was that, look, listen, that he's getting a completely different feedback from Guangzhou, from his people, and that if there are any Nigerians, any incidents, we get the name, get whatever action they're complaining about, and present it to him, that he can assure us that immediate action will be taken, and that he's also confident that those incidents are not taking place. So I will inform our people in Guangzhou that they should record every single incident, and with the names of anybody that has suffered in any way, and we will take them up with the Chinese authorities. But as I said, in parallel to that, we are going to do everything possible to get our people back. So we obviously have, as a first step, to now start documenting each act, getting the names, dates and times and so forth, and we're going to present that to the Chinese authorities.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has asked the federal government to suspend charges for the use of ATM cards and mobile phone transfers to ease the burden on poor Nigerians during the lockdown. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Kola Olabodinyo, the PDP said the lockdown had subjected majority of Nigerians to extensive use of ATM and mobile transfers for survival, making the suspension of charges on minimal transactions within this period of a restriction highly imperative. To achieve this, the opposition party urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to liaise with commercial banks to cover minimum transactions in favor of vulnerable Nigerians. The party also urged the federal government to activate similar social sustenance scheme to cover electricity tariff, particularly in areas populated by low-income and vulnerable Nigerians. Last week, the federal government set up a committee to work out modalities on its plans to provide free electricity for the next 2 months to Nigerians. The Tuka International Golf Resort and Country Club has empowered about 130 caddies and their families with palliatives to cushion the harsh realities of the COVID-19 pandemic. The relief materials, according to the chairman of the club, Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, is in furtherance to the vision of the club to actively engage barrack youth for productive ventures.
Our children, they are children of our soldiers in the barracks. When they give us golfing services, we pay them for their services. And we recall that for the past 3 weeks, the golf courses around the country is closed. So they do not have any means of supporting themselves or supporting their families. Therefore, we thought it wise to just give this little palliative that the members of both Tukur Yusuf Buratai International Golf Course and Goodluck Ebele Jonathan Golf Course at the Air Force Base. The members thought it very necessary and very wise to support these caddies.
In the recent years, we encountered a couple of outbreaks like the Ebola virus, the Lassa fever, but we all made it through, not because we are intelligent, not because of our knowledge, and not because we are better than others, but because of the grace God Almighty has showed us. And now today we are facing another pandemic, which is the COVID-19. We pray that may God Almighty safeguard us, may He protect us against this deadly virus, which has been causing a lot of death around the globe. But due to this pandemic, we are staying at home due to the lockdown. We thank our senior officers there who have served as fathers to us also, because they've been giving us the worldly advices that our fathers and mothers have been giving us at home. We thank you all. So many of them have touched our life in different ways.
The coronavirus pandemic and its resultant lockdown in some states across the country has put a strain on Nigeria's manufacturing industry and the nation's economy as a whole. Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf, said this on a Skype interview with TV360 Nigeria. According to Muda, the pandemic will create a contraction in Nigeria's economy which many companies may be unable to recover from in the short term. He adds that it may take up to a year for Nigeria to begin to witness an economic rebound.
We are going to see a sharp depreciation in the exchange rates. We know that this is a high import-dependent economy. So manufacturing sector, for instance, is largely dependent on imported raw materials. So with the depreciation in the exchange rate, the cost of raw material will increase. With the depreciation in the exchange rate, inflation is likely to spike significantly. We are likely also to see a major crisis, not a crisis, but a major challenge in the foreign exchange market. We are likely to see a liquidity problem. We are likely to see rationing of foreign exchange. We are likely to see a situation where the list of firms and products that you qualify for foreign exchange will now be much longer. After the lockdown, businesses will struggle to come back to business. Some will be able to return, some may not be able to survive the shock of the current moment. There will be a lot of adjustment that needs to take place. Some contractual obligations will have been affected. So, and for as long as the demand for oil and crude oil prices remain as low as they are, it will take quite some time. So I'm thinking that between now and the end of the year, the economy will be struggling, will be grappling with the issues of recovery. And that is if, by the grace of God, we're able to overcome this pandemic and we're able to flatten the curve. So before we can see proper recovery, we'll be looking at maybe early next year.
Well, let's now look at the COVID-19 pandemic outside Nigeria. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has lifted the 3-week restriction on movement in parts of the country implemented to curb the spread of COVID-19. In a televised address on Sunday, Akufo-Addo said the decision was made based on progress in containing the spread of the disease, measures put in place to tackle the disease, and the impact of the lockdown on the poor and vulnerable. 4 major cities in the Greater Accra, Ashanti, and Central regions had been under lockdown since March 31st following the confirmation of 137 cases. Ghana has so far confirmed 1,042 infections with 9 deaths from the novel coronavirus. The country of around 30 million people has ramped up testing and checked over 68,000 samples. Measures including the closure of the country's border, shuttering of schools, and limiting of public gatherings remains in force. Africa will get more than 500,000 test kits as well as 300 ventilators from the Alibaba Foundation to help in the fight against COVID-19. The founder of the Alibaba Group, Jack Ma, revealed this through his Twitter handle on Monday, where he said this is the 3rd batch of donations made to the continent so far. Also, the Jack Ma Foundation will be donating 4.6 million masks, 200,000 clothing sets, 200,000 face shields, 2,000 thermal guns, 100 body temperature scanners, and 500,000 pairs of gloves to the continent. According to the business mogul, the items will be given out to the African Center for Disease Control, which in turn will distribute them to members of the African Union. Last month, Jack Ma donated the first batch of medical items, which included 20,000 test kits, 100,000 masks, 1,000 medical protective suits and face shields to each members of the AU. And to sports, the Confederation of African Football says it has indefinitely postponed the continent's inter-club finals until further notice due to the coronavirus pandemic. The Confederation Cup was earlier scheduled for May 24th in Morocco, while the Champions League was to be played in the same location on May 29. But a statement released on Monday, CAF said the new schedule will be communicated in due time after consultation with the various stakeholders. We'll take a break here and return with more stories. Stay with us.
Shegun. Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they here, Abi?
Na beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If we want to elect a new secretary, we fit to
do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
this social distancing. It is non-negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Welcome back. No fewer than 105 Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province terrorists have been shot dead by troops of the Nigerian army. The troops of Section 2 Operation Lafia Aduli carried out a clearance on Saturday when they foiled a planned attack in Bunigari community in Yobe State. Elsewhere, troops of Operation Hadanri Daji killed scores of bandits in two communities in Dosima local government area of Katsina State. And still in Katsina, no fewer than 47 people have been killed by unknown gunmen who attacked communities in 3 local government areas of the state. A spokesperson for the State Police Command, Gambo Isa, confirmed the killings in a statement released on Sunday. He said the suspected bandits carried out their attack in Dosima, Damusa and Samfana local government areas around 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. The police, army, air force and other security personnel have been deployed to restore normalcy in the affected communities. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with the Katsina state government and residents, assuring that efforts are underway to apprehend the culprits. We'll take a break here to return with business news. Don't go away. Welcome back. We'll now join Oyin Adekmili for the latest in business. Hello, Oyin.
Hi, Fidelia.
So what's making headlines over there? Here, oil prices are crashing real hard.
You're absolutely correct, Fidelia. U.S. oil prices dived to 22-year lows on Monday after crashing almost 40% in a market flooded with crude and slammed by evaporating demand in the face of the coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate crude for May delivery tanked to $11.04, which is the lowest level since 1998. Trade, however, was also technically driven as investors closed out their positions ahead of the May contract expiry on Monday. Meanwhile, European benchmark contracts London Brent North Sea oil for June delivery was down 6.1% at $26.38 per barrel. We'll take a short break here and return with stock market review. The NSE got off to a wrong start this week with a slight decline of 0.01% in the all-share index. Crucial market indicators shed 1 point to close at 22,920 basis points. An equity cap remained at 11.945 trillion naira, only shedding some thousands after the day's close of trading. The downturn was significantly impacted by the losses in the shares of Guinness, Guarantee, as well as Zenith Bank and PZ, all making losses to the tune of 4 naira and 25 kobo collectively. Moving on now to the top gainers. There was not much difference on the chart from what was recorded in previous session. Nestle maintained the top spot, increasing by 8 naira in the value of its share price, and it's followed by MTN Nigeria adding 3 naira 50 kobo to sell at 100 naira per share today. And BUS Cement also made a good trading on the floor of the market today. Continued to shine, maintaining the third spot today for after trading at an increased price of 2 naira and 70 kobo, and it is followed by Julius Badger, which traded positive as well, closing with a 10% rise. And in summary, 345.4 million units of shares were traded today, and that summed up to 4.2 billion naira, which exchanged hands in 4,930 deals. Moving on now to the foreign scene. It was a bullish market for FTSE that's in London. Unfortunately, Dow Jones is down 1.51% as investors or analysts continue to warn President Donald Trump about the impact of opening up the country too soon. And of course, Nikkei is also down 1.15% at the end of trading today. And it's back to you now, Fidelia.
Well, thank you very much, Owen. Let's now move to the foreign scene. A gunman disguised as a policeman killed at least 16 people, including a female police officer, in what is believed to be Canada's worst mass shooting. The 12-hour rampage started late on Saturday and ended with a car chase. Police say the suspect shot people at different locations in Nova Scotia, many of them randomly. He was later killed in a confrontation with police. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau described the attack as a terrible situation. The alleged attacker was later identified by Nova Scotia police as a 51-year-old Gabriel Worthman who owned 2 large properties in the village. And that's it on News Now. Many thanks for joining us. I am Fidelia Guncha. Bye for now.